Hi, and welcome back to this fifth and final installment of the Quickstart video series. In the last few videos, we talked about what these payments are, why they're better, how others have used them in different scenarios and portfolios, and how to choose them. We also touched on the frequently asked questions that I get from new customers about taxes and what ifs, and we looked at the online documentation and the inventory page. So in this final video, we're going to look at the specifics of the purchase process, so you know exactly what to expect once you select a case and you go through with the purchase. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like from the emails and the closing books and all the paperwork, which is not all that much paperwork. It's pretty straightforward. So let's jump into it and get started. All right, welcome to video 5. We're in the home stretch here about DCF income payments, these wholesale income contracts. Some folks call secondary market annuities. We're talking about period certain guaranteed payments from these top-rated insurance companies like Berkshire, New York Life, MetLife, Prudential. These are payments that come from structured settlements that are transferred in a secondary market transaction. Purchasers acquire the right to receive existing in-force payment streams from these existing annuities that we acquire in a discounted lump sum transaction. These are great for a variety of planning situations. They offer a higher yield than CDs and new annuities and bonds, and lower your risk in a variety of different ways that we touched on in our prior videos. I also looked at how people use them in supplemental and retirement income situations, filling gaps in guaranteed income portfolios. And they solve a great need. A lot of times folks don't need lifetime income, or they're trying to plan a specific inheritance or create a specific income stream for future needs. And these are excellent funding assets to achieve known and quantified goals. In the last video, we talked about choosing payment streams. We walked through the terminology and the inventory and the online tools, documentation, and calculator on our website. We also touched on FAQs and what ifs, and I left you hanging on what specifically is in a closing book and what a transaction looks like for both IRA and non-IRA customers. So that's what we're going to touch on now, to go through just exactly what you're going to expect, who's going to be buying, how the paperwork should go together, when they're going to be buying it. And once we have that what, who, and when in place, we'll prepare a closing book. And I will walk through each of those things with you right now. So a few minutes ago, you saw on that other video the reservation form that you can put in place to you can reserve a case. So let's take a look at that specific case. That's this lovely Berkshire 30-year income stream 1701. I put a hold on it for purposes of this video. The reservation form right here, you can click on it, download it. If you and I haven't spoken before, or you're working with an advisor, the reservation form simply has the small amount of information necessary for us to prepare closing paperwork. You'll see in here the highlights of the case, the rate, our assumed closing date, and the blanks have the information that we need in order to proceed. Your name or titling profile, phone and email, and your bank information for direct deposit. You'll be getting payments from Gold Star Trust via direct deposit. You can specify by check as well if you prefer to check in the mail, but most folks want the direct deposit. Payments come from the insurance company to Gold Star Trust, to each account's numbered escrow depository account, and then from there are sent over to you. So you can download that reservation form, fill it in, and send it in to reserve a specific case, and that's your reservation form. Typically, folks who are considering something of this magnitude, frankly, this is $285,000, not a small investment. You might need some time to think about it. That's where we utilize the 48-hour hold. As I said, I put a hold on this particular case for the video purpose, but if you wanted to hold a case or set an appointment to speak with your advisor about it, talk to your tax professionals, any number of reasons why we put holds on cases for people. This is a first come, first served marketplace. We utilize the 48-hour hold in order to give clients an opportunity to control a case while they're talking to their advisors to make sure they want to proceed. I've mentioned Goldstar Trust Company several times in these videos. There are three distinct roles that Goldstar plays. As an escrow agent, they will receive and handle and process your purchase funds. So when you wire funds to buy a case as a non-qualified acquisition, meaning not with an IRA, it goes into a specific numbered escrow account. Just like if you were buying a house, there's an escrow account opened at the title company that has to balance out. So every dollar in has to be accounted for and come back out in the purchase escrow. In addition, Goldstar is the payment servicer. They receive each payment in the mail from the insurance carriers, and they administer the account and the beneficiary and address changes for you, and they handle the payment to you, typically by direct deposit. So that's their payment servicing role, which is ongoing throughout the life of the payment stream. Now, for our IRA customers who utilize qualified funds, I also recommend Goldstar Trust. It's a separate department at the same company, but they are one of the lowest cost and most efficient IRA, self-directed IRA custodians. And so it's a situation where the one department in the payment servicing can pay right over to another department at the same bank to pay into your IRA if you acquire through an IRA. So it does make things streamlined and seamless, and it's nice because they are one of the lowest cost custodians in this particular space. If you'd like to learn some more about IRAs for using your own IRA funds, you'll find IRA information in a tab on the inventory page. Looks just like this. Now, when you do decide to buy a case, we touched on the who, the when, and the how earlier. Once I have that information, I'll be putting that into a closing book and sending that closing book on to you by DocuSign. There are typically three parties on the closing book. There's the seller, who is me in this case, as DCF Exchange, you as the buyer, and Goldstar as the payment servicer. Sometimes a different department at Goldstar, as I said just a minute ago, would also be a signer in a fourth capacity as your IRA custodian. But these are circulated most efficiently by DocuSign. We'll take a look at that specific case here in just a minute, that specific one we put on hold, and we'll look at the actual closing book for it that'll be sent to you by DocuSign. If you're buying non-qualified, as in a cash buyer, you'll be sending funds into Goldstar by wire transfer or cashier's check, as I said earlier, to that case-specific escrow account. That's a specific dedicated escrow that each case has. And it's a nice way of knowing that your funds are segregated for just a specific case. Over the life cycle of your payment stream, you'll also have an ongoing relationship with Goldstar. We have a direct phone and email line for their servicing department to service our customers, and they can handle all of your questions related to for your heirs or beneficiaries if necessary, or address changes, banking changes for you over the course of time, or if you need to change ownership or put assets into a trust. All of these things are handled directly with Goldstar Trust Company. So as I said, we send things by DocuSign, and it looks a little bit like this. Let's actually go to an email, go to a specific case, and look at the actual email of what DocuSign looks like. So let's say you've decided to reserve this Berkshire Hathaway case. What do you expect? What's going to happen? What happens when you get to a closing book? Well, I'll be sending that to you by DocuSign, and it'll look something like this. It'll come to your email box with a complete by DocuSign case ID, and it won't say Billy Bob Sample. It will say your actual real live name. Looks like this when you get the case. You can open it up. And DocuSign's a great platform for delivering larger documents. There are a lot of pages to a closing book that we will go through, not on this interface here. I'll show it to you in the actual PDF. That's all the collateral material related to the specific case. But what I wanted to show you is that you can download this case for your own review before signing anything. And I would expect everybody to do that. Download it, read through it, talk to your advisors about it. Just make sure that you know exactly what you're doing rather than just clicking through and signing. So when you download the case, it's going to look like this. Here's the specific case, the purchase price. It was calculated as of a date, as I showed earlier. Now, in your situation, if it was closing today, it would be a different price. The price is calculated based on when we have good funds to settle an escrow account, and with your advisors or with the IRA custodian, there's some back and forth in the purchase timing, so we make sure things are calculated. Today is June 18th, and if you were closing today, I think you saw in one of the earlier videos that this case would be about $282,000 6 weeks earlier than as shown here. The final pricing is determined before we send this closing book, and that's a matter of communication back and forth as to when we have good funds in the escrow account at Gold Star to settle out the transaction. But these are the specifics of the transaction that you can see here. You've seen some documents on this already with the illustration and the payments table. Your information in here, this is just a summary page. You would have sent in this information with the reservation form or by email or other manner to us prior to purchase. Some information about the underlying contract and the annuitant's name. And here's that specific Gold Star number, the escrow 650927. When you wire funds in to buy this case, you'll notice the wiring instructions right here have a further credit to this specific number, 650927. So this is a numbered account that receives payments from Berkshire Hathaway and pays them on to you. And you'll see that numbered account further on as we move through this closing book. The table of contents have the what's laid out here in this book. But in the court order and the acknowledgement stipulation, that same numbered account is way down in there as well. So you know that these funds are coming from Berkshire directly to an account that you own and control. The first page, and the closing book's going to run in a bit of a reverse chronological order. The first page of content here is my assignment to you. And we'll move through this all the way down to the seller's policy and the seller's contract to sell the payments. So my assignment to you, here the price and the exact payment stream that you're receiving, what you're getting, and basic assignment information. This is a payment servicing agreement directly with Gold Star Trust Company. So what Gold Star does, and again, the same payment description and the case ID at Gold Star 650927. So everybody knows the same information is in all of these different places. What Gold Star is to do with this money is on their instructions here. They're paying to the Billy Bob and Betty Joe Sample Trust, and this is the trust banking information. You would, of course, put in your own bank account and routing info for direct deposit information. But this is Gold Star's instructions and your contract and relationship with them, including their fees. As I said, $5 per payment deducted when the payments come in. After the Gold Star Payment Servicing Agreement, there's a disclosure statement, which you should read thoroughly. There's also this next document. It's called a split summary, which we produce, and I'll show you in the court order itself. What we acquired when we acquired this payment stream was a monthly income plus several different lump sums. But what you're acquiring, or what Billy Bob Sample is acquiring here, is just the income stream. So it's a split situation. In other videos, I've detailed the splits, but I have sold $15,000 and $25,000 off of this in one to one customer. We have a $25,000 piece available as well that is unreserved. And this particular 1701 is showing as unreserved, but it's going to be marked as sold in just a moment after you acquire it on this closing book. So this split shows the sum of all of the payments that we are to receive, $677,000 of total payout. We received $10,000 on 3/17 of 24 that paid into our own account because we owned the payment stream at that time. And this is basically just a reconciliation. The sum of the parts must always add up to the whole of what we acquired. I like this full disclosure of what you're getting and what everybody else has gotten out of a specific payment stream. Gold Star especially likes it as the administrator. And it goes back to one of those frequently asked questions that I get. What if I'm gone? Well, I'm not administering the payment. After it's set up, it's all at Gold Star. And these kinds of documents help everybody know exactly what to expect. We looked at the payments table already in another video, and there's a copy of it again in here, showing the purchase price, the principal and interest of each payment throughout the life cycle of the payment. You and your tax advisors would utilize the payments table, or perhaps the exclusion ratio, to come up with your own tax, to satisfy your own tax obligations. But the information necessary for that is all in this closing book. I have a little disclaimer here about payments that are received by mail. Payments do get mailed by insurance carriers to Gold Star, and sometimes there are delays in the mail. Sometimes things are lost in the mail. So there sometimes are situations where your payment may be a few days late, or stop payment may need to be handled. These are fixed payment streams that are guaranteed and period certain. They're not securities. As an extra measure of protection, I had a securities opinion commissioned several years ago, just to say the obvious, that these are not securities. And a copy of the short form of that is in this closing book. Here's another summary of the tax information and a accounting opinion as well. We had an accounting firm issue an opinion as to the tax situation related to our payments table. And again, a summary of their opinion is here in the closing book. Each of the payment streams that we acquire is reviewed by our own legal counsel, and this lovely lady, Amy Schwartz, reviews most of my files, and her review criteria are in here with the specific legal requirements that each transaction must meet in order to be approved by her for our funding. We have a confirmation letter from Berkshire Hathaway stating that this payment stream is fully in force and assigned. So on this confirmation letter, this is stating that Berkshire Hathaway is in receipt of the order assigning payments, and Berkshire will abide by the terms of the court order and will send the assigned payments to the designated assignee, who is DCF, in the court order. The specific payments are outlined right here once again, and they are the same payments, the 1701 plus the lump sums that we have already shown in this video, and also in the split payment summary. So you get a lot of confirmation of the exact payments and the exact channel to which it will be sent, including this GTC account number 650927. So the payment's coming right from Berkshire into 650927, and you have ownership of 650927 after the assignment. And all handled at Gold Star Trust. Here's a court order that's assigning the actual payments. So carrying on, this court order is typical of all of these transactions that we do in this space. It recites a fair amount of specifics and refers to statute, specifically IRS Rule 5891, which requires certain findings in the court orders to make sure that it is compliant with IRS rules. Every state has slightly different requirements, but they all follow the same basic pattern. Transfers need to be in the best interest of a payee, make certain findings, and court orders will then affirm that the jurisdiction and its venue is proper, notices have been met, and it will make certain findings that the transfer is approved, and Berkshire is to make these exact payments. Again, it's the same payments you've seen throughout on the payment schedule and everywhere else. Berkshire is to make the payments. So the payments are specifically going to be sent to DCF Business Trust, which is a pass-through entity and controlled at Gold Star in account 650927, as I've mentioned several times. That's the designated address in the court order, and the payee shall no longer have the power or the authority to request any change or beneficiary change or anything related to the assigned payments. Orders always have this kind of very stark language, making it quite clear that the payee has forever severed their rights and the rights of their heirs and assigns to the payment. The death of the seller shall have no effect on the payments, and so on. Carrying on through a closing book, you'll see, much like a chain of title, my agreement with the selling company who I acquired the payment from, and the seller's agreement with the company that I bought from, the seller's agreement to sell. So I try and demonstrate all of the contracts that go into a sale in these closing books, so that you know without a shadow of a doubt that you're receiving the payments to come in the future. Once you've reviewed a closing book, switching back over to DocuSign. Going back over to DocuSign right now, you can see the specific payments. We've been through the entire closing book now, and if you're ready to sign, it's a simple matter of following the yellow brick road to sign. Let's make Billy Bob's signature look like that. And you're signing as on the assignment agreement, which was page 3, and on page 5 here in the payment servicing agreement as well. Now, if you're buying with an IRA, you'd also be signing the direction of investment form, which instructs Gold Star to move the money out of your IRA and over to the transaction escrow to finalize the purchase. But that is a closing book in full detail. A lot of pages to it. Many of them relate to the underlying legal structure and the legal transfer. Oh, cart before the horse. I have already been through the closing book, but here is the layout of it. So as I said right at the end of the closing book, if you were to be acquiring this in an IRA, one of the documents in there would be a direction of investment form. It looks like this, but it wasn't in that DocuSign that we just looked at for example purposes. But the direction of investment form just instructs Gold Star as your IRA custodian what to do in terms of executing the purchase. So you've been through a closing book. You've been through all what to expect and how to sign it electronically. And what surprises a lot of folks is really that's it. That's the conclusion of the transaction. Once funds are wired into the escrow account or they're moved into the escrow account from your IRA for qualified purchases, it's completed. It's executed by Gold Star. Your information is input in their systems, and the transaction is it. It's really can be one of the easiest transactions that you'll ever do. And a lot of people are surprised that there's not a lot more paperwork. There's no FedExes or printed material faxing back and forth or heavy thump value books that get sent back and forth. I really try to keep things efficient and yields high by keeping costs down. I like to do things with digital and with DocuSign transactions. However, if you do need to have a printed closing book, I can have one scented and printed to you at the end of a transaction. So now, like most of these videos, I got to tell you what's up next. What's next is that it's your turn. You took the time to watch all the way through, and I really thank you for it, but the ball is now in your court. Action without knowledge is useless, and knowledge without action is futile. And now you have the knowledge, so it's time to take some action. You can call, email, or text me to reserve a case and get started, and I'd be happy to go through this one-on-one directly with you on a specific case if it suits your needs. I look forward to working with you, and I'm Nathaniel. Thanks again for your time.
Thanks for making this journey with me through video 5 of this Quickstart series. This last one hopefully wrapped everything up for you and put a bow on the whole process. Now you know exactly what to expect in the transaction. You have a solid understanding now of what these payment streams are, where they come from, why they're better, how other clients have used them in the past in portfolios and in different planning situations. And you've been through our inventory page and you've seen how to select cases. And now after this video, you know exactly what to expect in the transaction. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's time to take action and to get started. If there are any questions or if you want to see the specifics of an individual case for your own purchase consideration, don't hesitate to call or email. I'm always here for you. Thanks, and I look forward to working with you.
So to get started, contact your advisor today, and we look forward to working with you.